My first song I wrote when a neighbor just lived down the road was killed in a car accident, and that inspired me to write my very first song, and that would have been about 1962, I think. I think I became a much better writer down here. No, I know I have. Yeah, I mean, I had some good songs back in the 80s, but the ones I wrote then, but these are a lot better. Yeah. I don't know why you had to leave me, but I'll be sorry. Not so much of a recipe. Basically, songwriting is more desire than anything else. And experiences, you know, you would have to get out of your basement and go out and experience a little bit of world stuff. I used to get my melodies from laying my head on my old Martin guitar and just plucking some chords and some notes and some scales, and usually I get my most inspiration, I think, from that old guitar. But once in a while I'll hear something that someone else has done, and there'll be something in there that'll be interesting to me, and so I'll steal a little piece of this or that and put it together with something else. I'm not ashamed.
Every time I come home late at night, she's always sitting there by the light.
I'd played with some friends up at the Rock Verde in Dominican, and I had a lot of our friends were there that night, and we were eating brownies and drinking beer after the show. And one of the ladies that follows us a lot, and her and her husband were there, and she said, "Ken, I've got a line for you." And she actually gave me that line, and I can't remember now what it was, but it's pretty close to how it ended up being. I think I shortened it a little bit, but basically it was one step closer to being one step farther away.
She's one step closer to being one step farther, one step farther away.
It's about 15 minutes from Dominical to Uvita. And between Dominical and Uvita, I wrote the song in my head, and I pulled off at the gas station just north of town there, the old gas station, and scribbled it down on a piece of note paper or something I had laying on the floor, and half a broken pencil on it. Yeah, sometimes that's the way it goes.
One step farther away. She was one step farther away.
What's the point staying here all night long? What's the point? I know you're not coming home. My first wife had left me, and my kids were in bed, I thought, and I was just sitting out there in the front room holding my head in my hands, and one of my kids, I think it was Caleb, came out and said, "What are you doing, Dad?" And I said, "Well, I'm just waiting to see if your mom's coming home tonight." And he looked at me and said, "What's the point?" He was about 5 or 6 or something. What's the point of being responsible? You take and you take, but your plate, it's never full. I wrote some more verses to it and got the melody, but I couldn't come up with the last verse at all, and I never did. So I just whistled it and put it on a little recording, and I carried it around in my pickup truck for a long time. What's the point of crying all the time? What's the point? Your word ain't worth a dime. And one day I noticed Collie was whistling to it. And so when he was 4, that would have been 4 years ago, 4.5. And that would have been 4 years ago at least. And anyway, he was whistling along with it. I thought, hey, that's pretty good. So I just played it every time we get in the truck, and he'd whistle, and it got better. He started adding harmonies and a little fill here and there. And so I thought, well, that's pretty good. So John was looking for some songs to add to our show, and so I brought a batch up, and that happened to be in that group of songs. And I think Janet was there, or maybe he shared it with her, and she really liked it. So I said, well, let's try it. So we did, and I never did write the last verse, so it's just whistles. I don't know if there's one way I can say that I write songs. There's 100 different ways. But a lot of them are from my kids and my wife and my friends that stimulate me to have a memory or a thought. A lot of times it's simple as somebody just saying something to me. We stood there in the moonlight, your body close to mine. Looking back, I remember it was our finest time. Staring at the mountain. I wrote You and I one night after a gig, and walking with my daughter out in the backyard. It was a full moon, and as the moon came over the top of the mountain, it shone down on her face, and it inspired me to write that song, at least the first 3 verses. Then finally, she went to sleep. I laid her down in the room, and I just wrote this very last verse for her to sing with me someday, I hope. So the last verse you hear is the particular verse that I wrote for her.
In the silence of my room, I wonder what you're writing for. Is it me or you? I wonder why you had to go. And will I see you soon? You were my first love I recall. My heart is always full of you and I. Of you and I.
Broken vows and empty promises, tie-dyed shirts and faded jeans, playing guitars till the morning, getting tired of center stage. But yeah, it's about being on stage. Yeah, it's kind of like what goes through your mind while you're up there. It's so exciting, but you're so frightened, and it goes through a whole gamut of emotions. And then when you get off stage, you're all up, and you want to keep going. So a lot of times I go home and write a song right then while I'm still up, and that was one of them I wrote after a show one night. So I moved off to Atlanta, found a loft more like a cage. And my habits followed swiftly, and I'm back on center stage. The topics are usually easier than the lyrics themselves, because you'll have a really good topic. This sounds like it'd be a really good song, but you get about 3 lines in, you say, oh yeah, what else was it I wanted to say? And so sometimes the topics aren't sufficient to support a song. So I leave that part, and then I'll get another topic with another kind of a song, but these lyrics are somewhat compatible, and sometimes it all goes together to make one song too, and that's always fun when you have some lyrics already written that fit into a thought you've had again. But yeah, the topics can come from any place. Gee whiz, a lot of it just comes right out of the mouth of my friends and my kids. So I wrote this song just recently. I got home from a gig and Kelly had already went to sleep. So when she sleeps and I'm not here, she wraps her arms and her legs around my pillow so that when I get home, I can't go to bed unless I wake her up. At least I think that's why she does it. So I got home and she's asleep, and I squeeze her over and lay down beside her and relax. And just then she reaches over and puts her arm around me and gives me a big hug. And so I wrote this song kind of for her, but mostly for all the parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. I'll do a couple verses for you. You get an idea where it goes. My little girl laid down last night, put her arm around me tight. So I didn't want to go to sleep last night. Someday soon she'll be out the door. I've seen it happen all before. So I didn't want to go to sleep last night. So I just lay there quietly remembering how things used to be, hoping someday she would never ever want to leave me. But as sure as their poem is always true, the kids grow up and leave you. So I didn't want to go to sleep last night. And it has a couple more verses, but that's the idea. So that's to all you parents and grandparents out there, and all the love you show your kids, and it'll all come back to you in the end. We're all just stardust from a long time ago, and we'll be stardust in the end, I know. I think I'd been watching a YouTube video, the grass, I don't know, somebody, and I watch a lot of those, and they were talking about the beginnings of life and of time, for that matter, I guess, measured on our scale at least. And so I got to thinking about stardust. Well, that's all we are. And gosh, that was one of those songs that just, boom, I just wrote the whole thing like in 10 or 15 minutes, and I didn't even give it a thought. Usually I anguish over it for hours and hours. Oh, that's not the right word, or that's too personal, or that's, But that song, it's really a simple song too, as you can tell. I certainly wouldn't compare it to anything by Hoagie Carmichael or anything that Willie Nelson covered, but yeah, it's a fun song, and my mother likes it, so that's something. And I know it's true, and we'll be stardust, both me and you. And I'll be stardust till the end, and when I come back again, I'll still be stardust. I know it's true. And I'll be stardust till the end, and when I come back again, I'll still be stardust, in love with you.